Hello, welcome to another episode. Today I'm going to talk about my big day, the day that I got diagnosed. And fortunately, I got Moo out of the way. My cat, if you watched the last episode, Moo would never let me get any work done. So today she is actually being locked up in the bathroom. That's not very nice, but anyways. So I will never forget October 5th, 2012. That was my mom's birthday. And that was the day that I actually went in to see my physician and got diagnosed. I think it's important to share this part of the story because it was a life-changing event, being diagnosed. I went in, I saw my physician, and the first thing I did was I reported to her about some of the urination, the thirst, the sudden weight loss, the blacking out. You get it. By now I should have figured it out that I was diabetic. And she reported to me that she thinks it's a good idea, since I haven't had a physical in 3 years, I should probably go get a urine sample and get my blood drawn, which was done very, very quickly. And as always, when you go to your physician's office, there's a long, long wait. So I sat down, I waited, and by the time they brought me in, they told me, Dr. Abe, we have your results. Your A1C is a 13. And I'm like, it's been a while. So I'm like 18, 13, what does that mean? And she's like, you are most definitely a diabetic. And I'm like, well, how bad is it? And she was like, awful. It is really bad. In fact, we haven't seen such levels in a very long time. She went ahead and decided to use a glucometer and check my fasting blood sugar, and it was around 323. And I asked her, how bad is that? When you're put in the spot, even if you're a healthcare provider, or you work in the healthcare field, you're just not there anymore. And at that moment, when they were reporting all these numbers to me, and ordinarily I would completely understand what they're talking about, all I heard was blah, 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 blah. You're in trouble, blah, 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 blah. You're in trouble, blah, 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 blah. I asked her over and over again, how bad is it? And she told me, it was bad. The levels were high, and I was transferred over to one of the nurses, and she specialized in diabetes. And by that time, I was starting to get it a little bit, and I was realizing how severe this situation was. It was very emotional. I was fearful, was confused. My partner was with me, which was great. She provided a lot of support. And the nurse was there as well, and she was phenomenal. And one of the things she said to me was very not medical language, whatever you want to call it, but she explained the situation to me in the clearest of ways. And she said to me, your pancreas is sleeping. Your pancreas is asleep. It's gone through a lot, and it's asleep now. And what we need to do is we need to give it some time so that we can wake it up. And that stayed with me for the longest of time because it made sense. Despite at that moment I completely forgot what pancreas was. Like, my brain was completely smushed and was washed away. So they handed me this wonderful kit, which I still have. The lancet, glucometer, test strips. So, since I'm transitioning this story, I want to talk to you a little bit about the instructions that I was given. I was told that I was supposed to use this, prick my finger, and test my blood sugar with the glucometer every time before I ate and first thing in the morning, the ideal levels where they were trying to get my blood sugar down below 120, and they wanted my blood sugar not to really exceed 160 or 180 after I ate. You know, traumatic. Like, as I'm talking to you, I'm starting to remember the feelings that I had. It was traumatic because it was change. It was different. It was going to impact the way I lived. But nonetheless, I'll tell you this, the team that worked with me that day, they were phenomenal. They were rushed. They didn't have as much time because our healthcare system doesn't really allow healthcare providers to spend as much time as they would like to with me, but they did their best. This thing brought me a lot of suffering, but at the same time it gave me it helped me realize where my sugar levels were every time before I ate in the first thing, what it was like, you know, in the morning. And by the way, the second thing I was prescribed was metformin. We started off with 1,000 milligrams. In addition, I was put on insulin. I was supposed to give myself a small dose on my thigh every time before I ate, and a dose in the morning on my abdominal region. And I'll tell you this one thing, do not inject close to your belly button, because if you do, that is one of the most excruciating pains you'll ever experience. So that's pretty much, you know, how I was diagnosed, what went on. The subsequent days were difficult because you've never done this, and you had to do it over and over and over again. But my healthcare providers, my doctor, the nurses, they called, they checked in on me, they made sure that everything was okay. It wasn't okay, but I mean, what do you want them to do? There's only so much they could have done. Immediately, as of that one day, the day I was diagnosed, I started changing my eating habits. Soda is absolutely a no-no. We cut carbs and sugars almost completely. As we go on in later episodes, I'll tell you more about the diet part. But that day, all the junk food was completely eliminated. Everything, you know, it was basically salads and salmon, that's basically it. That was my diet. That very day, I decided that I was going to start exercising. You know, they didn't give me the all, you know, clear to go ahead and do that, but I started walking. I remember walking for about 2 miles that day. I wanted to do everything to give myself a heads up, you know, a head start, so that I can try to work towards getting rid of this thing. So that was the day I was diagnosed, and I'm sure many of you who are diabetics remember your first day. Thank you so much.